Leslie, this one is to Mr. Strickland.
Mr. Strickland, in Cincinnati, there were 174 overdoses in 6 days. In East Liverpool, there was the photo of this couple overdosed in the front seat with a 4-year-old child in the back seat. And it just shined a light on just how bad the heroin epidemic is right here. As governor, you made cuts to addiction services to balance the budget during the recession. Why should voters have confidence in you that you would support addiction services if you were elected to the U.S. Senate?
Because if you look at my total 4 years in office, I think you will see that I actually increased funding for these services. There was a time during that last 2-year period when we were facing a recession. My opponent talks about Ohio losing 350,000 jobs. He refuses to acknowledge that America lost over 8 million jobs as a result of a national recession that he had more to do with than I, because he was George Bush's budget director in the years leading up to that economic collapse. Now, I'm very familiar with this drug problem because I lost my great-nephew a few months ago to Oxycontin overdose. I was a psychologist before I became a politician, so I work with people who suffer from addictions. It is a scourge. When I was governor, I started the prescription drug task force because much of this drug abuse begins with prescription drugs initially. When people get hooked on legally prescribed medications, that prescription is no longer available or is too costly, then they tend to gravitate toward a drug like heroin. It is a huge, huge problem. But if I were in the Senate, I would vote for the resources that were necessary for local communities like this community to fight it. Now, Senator Portman boasts about his concern for this issue, but let me tell you the truth. When it came time to vote for the funding for the very bill that he boasts about, he voted against it. But that's not unusual, because in the omnibus bill, he not only boasted about that, but he boasted about 13 other problems that he said he addressed, and he voted against the bill. He voted against the funding for his own bill. Communities need help. They need resources. They need funding. And if I were in the Senate, I would be supporting that funding.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Senator Portman, a response.